And on a very shocking news, you have the Syrian courts has sentenced former President Bashar al-Assad to death in absentia for crimes committed during the country's civil war. Assad was convicted of premeditated murder, torture, arbitrary detention, and crimes against humanity linked to the violent suppression of protests that began in 2011. The historic judgment is largely symbolic for now because Assad fled to Russia and after his government collapsed in December of 2024, and Moscow has refused to extradite him. So now Assad was tried and sentenced in absentia because he remains in exile in Russia. His brother, former military commander Maher al-Assad, was also sentenced to death in absentia. Their cousin Atif Najib, as well as the former security official who was present in court, received the same sentence. Now, the convictions involved premeditated murder, torture, arbitrary arrests, crimes against humanity, and Najib was accused of overseeing the arrest and torture of teenagers in Dara in 2011 after they painted anti-government graffiti. Now you have public outrage over the teenagers' treatment, helped ignite nationwide demonstrations and subsequent civil war. Now, this is the first Syrian conviction of Assad or a senior member of his immediate circle since his government was overthrown. Now, Syria's new authorities have requested the extradition of Assad and his brother from Russia. Assad also faces international legal action, as well as including a French arrest warrant connected to a deadly 2012 bombing. Now, Human Rights Watch recognizes the verdict's symbolic importance, but reiterates that opposition to capital punishment and has called for a credible, fair trial protection. So now you had Bashar al-Assad that became president in the year of 2000 following the death of his father, Hafez al-Assad. His government responded to peaceful demonstrations in 2011 with arrests, torture, and legal force, and transforming the uprising into a prolonged civil war. Government forces and allied militia were accused of indiscriminate bombardment, chemical weapons attacks, as well as mass detention, torture, and execution. Approximately 500,000 people were killed during the conflict, while millions were displaced. Now, Assad's government collapsed in December of 2024 following a rapid rebel offensive, and Assad and his members of his family escaped to Russia where they received asylum. Now, the new Syrian government has presented the prosecution as a part of a transnational justice process. Now, you have this concern that remains about judicial independence, defendants' rights, and whether the proceedings can deliver accountability beyond symbolic verdicts. Now, the sentence cannot be carried out unless, of course, Assad returns to Syrian custody, and Russia's refusal to extradite him makes that unlikely in the immediate future. But the death penalty could also complicate extradition efforts because some governments will not transfer suspects to jurisdictions where they could be executed. But international pressure may therefore focus on when it comes to securing a retrial or commuting the sentence or prosecuting Assad through other courts. This is very significant to hold a former president accountable for what took place in his country, where there was about 500,000 deaths, which is very significant, and millions of Syrians that were displaced. Now, this verdict is a landmark acknowledgement of crimes that Syria has spent years documenting, and convictions and accountability are not the same thing, of course. So now this is a very significant point in Syrian history, which could also trigger the same thing potentially in other countries when it comes to their leaders and what takes place during their time when they are leading the country.